welcome to the first LIRC meeting for 2023 in person from Milan on occasion of the Design Week 23. And we are also live streamed thanks to the IALD and our media partners, LIRC and LIRC magazines. I'm going to introduce our guests for the evening in a minute. Meanwhile, please welcome online Alexis Arnoldi, co-chair of the LIRC. Welcome, Alexis.
Hello. I want to thank, you could advance it to the next slide, but I would like to thank Light'in Agorà for collaborating with us on this wonderful program tonight. We're really excited about it, and we're really excited about all the panelists here. It's going to be very interesting and informative. So the LIRC is the manufacturing arm of the IALD, and as such, we are all competitors, and we want to make sure that the lighting designers and the manufacturers do not engage in any run afoul of any antitrust requirements or rules and all. So I'm sure everybody will play by the rules today. Thank you. So I am Alexis Arnoldi. Next slide, please. And I'm one of your co-chairs for the LIRC Steering Committee. And on the next slide, please, you can see the steering committee. We are made up of roughly half lighting designers and half manufacturers. And our very own Chiara Carucci is one of the steering committee members, as well as Paul Ehlert, who you will meet later today during the program. Next, please. So some of our big events that are coming up this year that we're hoping that all of you can join us with at some point during the year. We have Light Fair, which is a big trade show in New York City. And it's during Design Week in New York City. That'll be in May. That'll be followed by Enlighten Europe, which is primarily an educational conference, which will be held in Berlin this year. We're very excited about that. And then closing the year in November, we will have Enlighten Americas, which is going to be held in Banff, Canada. And that's primarily a educational conference as well. So thank you very much for joining us, and let's get on with the show.
Thank you very much, Alexis. So I would like to welcome you all again to this LIRC member meeting and panel discussion. I'm actually pleased and honored to introduce our panelists for the evening, Andrea Hartranft, FIALD, President-elect of the IALD from the US, and Dean Skira, IALD from Croatia, Paul Ehlert, Associate IALD from Switzerland, and then Surbhi, that unfortunately could only join us online. I'm asking to the service to share again Surbhi on our video. Thank you. Surbhi is Associate IALD from India. And altogether tonight, we will investigate the importance of creating opportunities for lighting professionals and see how all starts with education, not just for those who are already interested in lighting as a career path, but for all. And in the spirit of collaboration that characterized the LIRC, I ask everyone here in person and people online to please write down or remember a few questions that we will ask at the end of the first part of our panel to our guests. And now I would like to introduce my co-moderator, Martina Frattura, who is a junior associate member of the IALD, who will be so nice as to introduce the topic for us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chiara. Thank you, everyone, for being here, especially the panelists, both live and remote. You already said, Chiara, one of the main words, which is like whole. Hold the people. We are not we're here talking about lighting, but we are all also talking about inclusivity, as we were so lucky to be hosting the space, which is called Living Choices, Living the Change, actually. That's what they want to promote in the space, and we were so lucky to be invited to be here. And we believe lighting, it is the main mean to go for the inclusivity. And IALD represents that very much so. It represents joining different countries together. It represents joining the profession at different stages. So the people that are still studying, or the juniors, or till the senior, till the very associate ones. And bringing them together, it means create an environment that makes you feel that you're growing all together with the other people. And this is important because bonding and creating a network that can support, it will be then your environment that will allow you, will facilitate you growing as a professional, but not only, as a person as well. And I believe that all the people that IALD represents and the one that for sure will join us in the future are all people that are there for beautiful people, not just great professionals. The synergy and the community that we want to celebrate today is the reason why we all been selected and we all decided to come here. And so thank you for joining, thank you for listening to us, and we sure we will all get together today away with great takeaways.
Thanks so much, Martina. And with that, I think we are all ready to start this great panel discussion, and I would like to start with Andrea. Why do you think is access to lighting education so important?
Thanks, Chiara. You know, I think it's kind of a simple answer to a complex question. Without lighting education and access to lighting education, there's no sustainability to our profession. This is our future. You know, for those of us who are business owners, we need to continue to be able to have people that we can hire and train and send out who can then give back and bring in the next generation and the next. And it starts with education and awareness that lighting design is a profession, which, you know, how many little boys and girls grow up or, you know, wake up and go, I want to be a lighting designer when I grow up. Well, they should. It's really cool. But right now, I don't know that that's a reality. So I think, you know, it's so important that even at the youngest, you know, elementary ages or whatever it is, wherever we are, you know, access to even the simplest understanding what makes up white light, understanding why it matters, you know, how it impacts the color of your skin. Talk about inclusivity. I mean, that's as simple as it gets. So I think, you know, just all of these things give us our profession and knowing that there are other parts to, that it isn't just lighting design. I mean, without manufacturers, without the rest of the industry, I don't have anything to specify. So there's so much opportunity within the lighting industry and the lighting community. I think it starts with education.
Great. I think this is the only correct answer to that question, to be honest. True, absolutely. Thank you so much. Which helps me to ask you all one question. So, if that's so, and definitely it is so, what is the status of education in lighting design in your country? And I will actually ask Surbhi to start. So, hang on, we have to have you on the video at the moment.
As soon as she speaks, we're going to see her.
So, Surbhi, what's the status of education in lighting design in India at the moment?
Hi, good evening all.
Hey.
Hello, good evening all. Hi. So first and foremost, I would like to thank the IALD LIRC team, Chiara, Martina, Georgia, everyone, for inviting me to be a part of today's panel. Thank you all the panelists as well for making it to the event. It's a very insightful topic and conversation in today's time, education and career in lighting design. I'm privileged and honored to be a part of it. Unfortunately, I could not make it to the event in person as there were some visa issues last week. But thanks a lot team for setting up everything hybrid at the last moment. So coming on to your question, Martina, education, what's the status of education and lighting design in our country? Historically, if we see, India is a very rich country as far as education is concerned. And education has always been at the helm of the rich heritage of India. Somehow, it has taken a back seat in the last couple of years. However, we see a very high potential of lighting design per se in the country. India being home to almost 406 architecture colleges offering bachelors in architecture, 132 colleges offering masters in architecture, and another 84 offering certified diploma courses in architecture and interior design. And this is as per the statistics from Council of Architecture in India. So looking at the existing scenario, when you compare a country of 1.4 billion people, catered by hardly 50 to 60 lighting design professionals here, there's a huge gap that we need to fill in, especially when India is a booming country whereby government's focus is primarily on developing infrastructure under its G20 presidency. The demand for lighting design specialists is blossoming because a series of issues surrounding light and lighting design that cannot be catered or addressed by generalized practitioners, architects, landscape designers, interior designers, or MEP consultants for that matter. So this is where India needs more and more qualified lighting design professionals, educators, as well as enthusiasts in the field.
And next, shall we have Paul, your take?
Well, obviously, I'm talking much smaller scale when looking at Switzerland, not at all comparable to India, to the size, the sheer size of that. In Switzerland, we have, I think there is one program which offers a basic lighting design education for planning and as well as industry specialists. There is another program which is, I think, on the university, which is kind of like a bachelor level. Still, we would love to have something like a master's program as we have in Wismar in Germany, where actually I graduated from there. That should be the ultimate goal, obviously, but it is a tough way and a harsh way, especially also looking towards the size and kind of like moving that on. There is a big interest, obviously, coming out of architecture. I mean, there's many well-known architecture offices in Switzerland, and they all share an interest in both artificial as well as daylighting. And daylighting, I feel, especially with the, I mean, you mentioned before the sustainability aspect, with the sustainability and energy saving aspect, in a way, I think it moves back into like our vision field, saying like that lighting or daylighting is an integral part of architecture and should be taught and should be actually also like somehow be a big part of the general education of architects, as well as interior designers and probably also engineers.
Thank you. You can continue, Andrea, if you want to.
Oh, I thought I was going last. I'm from the United States. We do have multiple lighting design programs, and I went to Penn State. My degree is in architectural engineering. I focused on lighting and lighting psychology, and that turned out to be a good decision. There, at Penn State and a couple of other programs, you can go all the way to PhD, so master's and PhD in lighting. In fact, our current Education Trust president is a PhD in lighting from Penn State and was a recipient from the trust. Typically, I think in the United States, people come to lighting through, if they're not coming through a lighting program, then they're taking 1 or 2 classes in an interior design program. That's very typical. Not as likely are they taking a lighting class, an artificial lighting class in an architecture program. They're likely to take daylighting. They're not as likely to take a specific lighting class, and I don't know of any programs, and I could be wrong, that have it as a requirement, which is fascinating to me. There are some engineering programs that offer lighting as an elective. And so people, and then theater, and we sort of forget theater, but with LEDs, man, we're all doing theater. So theater tends to also be a means of coming to understand controls and lighting and the effects of lighting on spaces and people. So lots of ways to back in or walk right into lighting in the United States.
Fantastic. Please, would you share with us your experience?
Yes. Well, I do come from the smallest country of all, but we actually do have a course in lighting at the University of Engineering in Zagreb. And we also make the fastest car on the planet. And we are the best in sports. And we have the best code. So Randy knows. Anyway, we have this course. It is actually more engineering course, and it's the formal part is teaching about the technology, the physics, and norms and regulations about lighting. And my late professor invited me every year to teach, actually to give a lecture to the 5th year, and giving them completely different aspect of lighting as they are taught in the school. So other than that, I don't recall that anyone else besides me was giving, lectures at architecture school and interior design school, but this is just, once in a while. So the formal education in design part of the lighting is still yet to come. And, hopefully with, this IALD initiative, which is very good. What?
Still a secret.
Ah, sorry. I'm not going to say anything else then.
Closed.
Okay, secret initiative coming up from the south of Europe will be revealed in IALD Enlighten Europe. So please, everyone, join us in Berlin. I will never be tired enough to say that. Anyways, I would also like to mention a few other master programs, just to be fair. There will be the master in Milano Polytechnical School, the master in Rome in lighting design, and then there is a 2-year program in Aalborg, Denmark, and my dearest KTH master, and I would like to remember everyone who's watching us online. I'm sorry, and I apologize if from the public and the panel sometimes you see us smiling at a very inappropriate moment. Is because people are joining us in person and we are so happy to see them. So, going to the next, about education. We know how the practice of our profession is so important, and therefore I'm very pleased now to take the chance and show you a couple of videos from initiatives that take place, hopefully every year. The first one is Project Candle. It will be this summer. It's actually a summer school. And the next one is going to be a video about lighting Alingsås. And as IALD, we are so proud of being partners and to have a few IALD lighting designers, some of us in the space who have been and will be selected as head of workshop. So I would like to ask our production crew to run the first video. That will be Project Candle, followed by the Alingsås video.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. J, and I'm the director of Project Candle. Project Candle is a Penn State-based network of lighting designers, manufacturers, and lighting educators. Our goal is to grow the lighting profession. We do that by continuously refining our curriculum here at Penn State with the most relevant professional skill sets and design reviews by practicing professionals. We want to attract the top students and, importantly for today, raise awareness of our field. Lighting design suffers from a recognition issue. Many outside our profession believe that lighting design only happens in the theater or at festivals. My own mother told me for years to quit playing with my silly lighting toys and take my career seriously. So our latest initiative seeks to address this gap, specifically for high school students and their parents. Camp Candle is a 4-day overnight camp for students entering 9th through 12th grade. It's subsidized by our partners, so the price is only $400, and we do have scholarships available because we want to make sure it's accessible regardless of income. Our focus will be on active learning because, after all, seeing is believing, especially with lighting design. We'll start with foundations and visual demos in our light lab, and then they get to try their hand at interior design at a community center that includes great visual targets, including a foyer, a stage, and an art gallery. Then we move outside to the famous Penn State Arboretum for exterior lighting design. We'll wrap up the weekend with a custom luminaire that they design and build themselves and get to take home to make their world a little bit brighter. If you know of an interested student, they can register now at projectcandle.org. And if you'd like to get involved personally, shoot me a message using the contact form on our website and let me know how we can make the world a brighter place. Let's build a great future for lighting design together.
That was the fabulous Dr. J. And so now immediately we will have the video from Alingsås.
Just kind of the next, but good.
We had an extra pathos coming from the sound, so outside. I just seen this video as I just been I'm coming almost from basically Alingsås, but I've just started basically, so it would be amazing
Martina
to
will
know
be a head of workshop this year.
and I'm still quite shaking about it. But for instance, I know definitely that Paul, you know way more than I do at this stage. So what do you want to share about the Light'in Agorà with us?
Well, I certainly have I have my share in that story. Actually, I had to actually look it up today. I was workshop head in 2014, but the story actually starts much earlier. I think my first job was with Kai Pipo in Stockholm with Luz Arkitektur, and he was one of the founders actually of that workshop program. It was like more than 20 years ago. It's like 99, 2000, 99. I think it's more than 20 years. Let's be as vague as that. So I worked at his office, and it was really, it was a great first job, to be honest, as a lighting designer. I learned a lot, and he somehow introduced us to the program, and then I continued to work there. And then I had the chance actually to give a lecture, like 3 or 4 years later, like 2010 or 11. And at some point I thought, well, they're sending out the request for applications. So I handed mine in, and I was selected, and I can just recommend it to everybody. It's a fabulous experience. It's such a vibe in the city. You just feel that people are vivid. They feel the energy. They feel the, let's say, like the power of lighting really takes over the city. And then you have 1 week of working with students, with actually architectural lighting design students. There's a electrical school which actually supports, which is, I think, also very good hands-on experience for everybody to kind of like see, well, somebody needs to actually execute it. It's not just doing beautiful drawings and sketches and whatever, it's actually really feeling it and kind of like choosing lights. And there is an amazing support from the manufacturers. So we had several manufacturers kind of like pre-selected, suitable to whatever we thought of our topic would be, or like our story. I mean, in my year we had a theme called music or light and music, and Edvard Grieg, the famous Norwegian composer, kind of like we could choose like one of his songs or music pieces and then kind of like implement it into our work and our lighting work. And I mean, it was fabulous. And I think a couple of months back, I just looked at the images back then. I was really proud, you know, like looking at the work I've done. Well, not me, also all the students. And it just really gave me a bond with that group of people, but also the whole group being there. So I'm still good friends with some of the people there. So I hope you have a very similar experience, or even a better one.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure I will. But I will give my best. And
it's fun that after so many years, I don't know you, Andrea.
I had such a good time.
yeah, it's always
And
great.
the thing is so unforgettable that sometimes when we are on site, we refer to that time, yeah, this is kind of the Alingsås tiredness. Anyways, Alingsås jokes, sorry. But next will be a few questions about challenges. And I have one for Dean. What will be the challenges that arise when communicating about lighting design to non-experts, and how these challenges can be overcome? Dean, please.
Well, funny is that the other day, my very good friend, architect, sent me an email and says, what is human-centric lighting? And I told him that, I said, I'm going to answer to you like I answer to all my colleagues, is that I think that phrase is completely wrong, because all lighting is human-centric. And I also hate that word centric, because it means that we don't care about anybody else or anything else. But in simple words, to explain it to you, I would have to go through all the facts of biology and so on, and simply I realized that we actually don't have words, a linguistic fact, that we can explain what we do to people who don't speak our language. Because in order for people who are not involved in this profession to understand what you're talking about, you have to go with them through at least the basics so they can understand. So going back to the fact of education, I think we should start with little kids, actually. And, in kindergarten, because that's where you start to develop the sense of anything. And if you don't play, if you don't start learning about the basics, then you will not understand, and then you will go and buy that cheap bulb and put it in your living room, like my father did a few weeks ago. And yeah, that's the reality. So I think we need to find a different language that we are using in communicating our profession, a different language, a language that is understood by people who don't know anything about lighting. That, I think, is the first thing we should do. And also, we should stop talking to ourselves about lighting. That's another big issue that I think we should address, because I don't know how many people here that are sitting and listening to us are not already involved in lighting profession, and it should be the opposite. We should be listened by people who are not involved in lighting profession, not to our colleagues, because we tend to convince each other how important our profession is.
Am I allowed to add something? I also would say that we need to get away from quantitative and head towards qualitative, because people know how they feel when they're in a space that makes them feel good, makes them feel bad, makes them feel whatever. They don't know what 10-foot candles is or 100 lux. They don't care. It's about how they feel. So, quality.
Do they know why they feel that way? Did anyone ever told them you feel this way in this restaurant because of?
Are we going to talk about the limbic brain? What are we getting into here? I don't know.
I think we're getting how many friends we have that they are tired to listen to. Look. No, should we go to that restaurant? No, because I don't like the light setting there, so I won't be eating very nicely. So I think Exactly, it is a valid reason. I think we're getting more towards that. So how many friends are still left from our circle? They're still able to listen to us. And also I want to add that we as a Light'in Agorà, we started yesterday with a workshop for kids, and we realized that they were pretty smart and they answered to all our questions even better than we expected. So definitely, yes, we should always start from as young as possible. I would like to ask the Surbhi, so I will look at here. Hello, Surbhi. What are the challenges instead in developing as a lighting designer in India? How you overcome this?
So I would like to take it on what Paul mentioned as well. The scale. The scale is high in India. And yes, we see many challenges in the training of being a lighting designer in India, especially when one wants to pursue education or career in lighting in the initial stages. So in architecture or interior design schools, when we look at the syllabus, lighting is the most neglected part or subject in degree or diploma courses in both architecture as well as interior design or electrical engineering for that matter. It is just a small portion of syllabus. And whereas in architecture design courses, this topic is covered under the broad subject titled services. So in India, and more so in India, the formal academic lighting education leading to Masters of Science in Illumination Engineering exists in colleges, which we can actually count on our fingers. Probably one or two. We have Masters in Illumination Engineering in India, and not a formal course in lighting design yet. So any aspiring student who really want to pursue lighting design either opt to study abroad in an international university or completely drop the idea of their dream career of being a lighting designer, because they can't afford, many can't afford to go internationally and pursue their dreams. Not only that, once the students go abroad, it becomes quite challenging for them to return and start afresh in the country, right? Coming on to the next part of your question, how are we overcoming this? We as professionals, many of the professionals in India, we teach in these electrical or architecture colleges. The only challenge what we face is we are not able to spend that much of time out of our practices that we should in teaching. And also our practical projects take up most of our time, though we want to educate more and more people in lighting design.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is so impressive. And there is all about opportunities as well, right, Martina?
Correct. The opportunities to access and to maintain it, which is, I don't think just in India, but as we even get it from the first answer of yours, Surbhi, I think also maybe because of proportion, it can get even worse than some other countries. But yeah, getting access to education and then be able to feel strong enough, that's definitely opportunities that it's a bit hard to get.
And so, again, about challenges, Andrea, what are some challenges that potential lighting designers could find when trying to access the profession?
I think it starts with just awareness that it's a profession. And just a very quick aside, my daughter-in-law took the bar, and one of the questions was a lighting design firm legal question, and in parentheses, it said, yes, it's a real profession.
Jeez.
So, but what that means from an accessibility, well, from anything standpoint, you know, one, you have to have enough programs so that it's easy to find, But parents are typically footing the bill for students to go take these classes. And if they don't necessarily feel confident that these classes and this profession is going to result in a job that lets their children be successful and feed themselves and clothe themselves and have a roof over their heads, they're not going to be as likely to fund that kind of thing. So it really, again, it starts really, really young, you know, and not just with the students, but with the parents, so that they're willing to take a chance on a less known profession. And then, you know, one thing I think that's really important is the ability to communicate. You know, we talk about being artists and being technical, and we are salespeople. We are selling clients on our concept that is really what meets their needs. If we can't do that, we lose. So, you know, access to knowing how to communicate a design, how to draw it, how to write it, how to show it in some way with confidence that you really know what you're talking about and that you have the best interest of the client at heart. That can be an impediment if somebody isn't comfortable in that. So I think that's something that's pretty critical in my mind. Mentors. Sorry, I have some notes because I traveled and I'm a little jet laggy. So if I'm all over the place, apologies. But access to good mentors, you know. And this is a great plug for you know, the IALD and the Education Trust. We all benefited from those who came before us. We have to turn around and give right back because mentors are hard to find. And it isn't even, you know, whoever you are, whatever you are, you know, it really helps to have people who have gone before you and fought the good fight and know how to fight the good fight, no matter what it is. And then the last thing I'd suggest is, you know, sometimes it's really hard to know what you've designed unless you see it. Hands-on experience, Light'in Agorà, rock solid, because they start by designing, they conceptualize, they design, and then they have to install it. The minute you flip that switch, you know if you did it right or not. And that's, I think, that's pretty important. So those are all thoughts.
I think we should all agree that it's the matter of authority, actually.
Yeah.
Do we have enough authority in order to be present in all those fields, within architecture, within interior design and engineering and so on, so that we are going to be the mentors tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Do we have that authority if we're not called a profession?
I'm with you 100%.
For sure, interdisciplinarity is one of the, like, let's say, the sustained word of inclusivity, I would say, because light is for sure one of the most permeable beings we have. Actually, maybe I would say the highest level of permeability. So that should be at the base and should facilitate interdisciplinarity. To answer maybe to your question, which I mean, I don't really have the answer, but maybe like the idea to support it, to say, maybe even if we don't feel like to have the authority because it's someone who don't consider that as a full profession, you would say like feeling, like make them understand how they're feeling without or with a certain type of lighting maybe might help.
Not so easy to answer.
No, not so easy.
But I guess the next question will help us
investigate
further.
That's what I was just opening up to actually say, like, we were also talking about environment support. And so how can the Lighting design community can actually help improving the access to the Lighting design education? Would that maybe help to answer also to the question before? And I will ask Paul to start with this, please.
Well, I would actually say promotion, but actually not promotion in terms of teaching or promoting the lighting design as a profession to, I mean, of course, youngsters as well, but what I felt lately is like promotion to actually our peers in the projects. So if you educate, if you kind of like promote the profession to architects, to interior designers, to developers, tell them about the importance of a lighting designer within a project, you have other peers who are actually supporting you in another education. Because if they understand, hey, there needs to be a lighting education, and there's actually a big quality coming out of such an advice, and somebody who's actually like helping within the project, they promote that even in the next project and in the further next project, and kind of like bring that also in their architectural associations and other groups. So that's what I felt lately is really helping to promote a lighting design education, because they will call for it. At some point, architects will call and saying, hey, well, we need that knowledge, we need that education, because these people actually really help in terms of the quality for every project we've been working on.
And Surbhi, would you like to continue on this?
Yes, absolutely. I agree what Paul just mentioned, that we need to really educate architects, clients, our fellow professionals from different backgrounds like electrical or interior designs. And this is where we also started a hands-on workshop for 4 days, inviting architects, designers, MPP consultants to really understand what lighting is, to create awareness. And apart from that, I would say that we should not be waiting for academic education to commence. Trust should be given to the continuing education part of it. And this can be imparted through short-term or practical-oriented modular courses, seminars, or workshops. Hence, we need to formulate official courses with the help of international associations like IALD or IES for that matter, and roll out with architecture students, design school students, and young budding professionals. We need to have more and more hands-on workshops, not only for students, I would say, but also for the lighting professionals who are working in a boutique studio or having their own small setup. These workshops that are tailored to provide background knowledge and hands-on experiences for solving practical lighting design problems that we face often on our projects is very, very useful. And this is where we as local communities together with international associations can push both formal and informal lighting education in our respective countries as well.
Fantastic. So, Dean, would you like to continue with this?
Yeah, I think this is a very, very complex issue. I think maybe we should start thinking about decentralizing the profession and spreading it in certain ways. But, you know, I think that in the direction in which the world is heading, I think it's going to be more difficult to be the one with the authority, even though we didn't have any authority over 99% of the projects and buildings that were built on the planet. So for the 1%, we are considered a profession that is like a luxury kind of thing. And this is why the companies that are producing terrible products are still making profit. And that is just because of everything we said before, because of a lack of education regarding the quality. Because also there is one very, very important issue, you know, the demand, the need. If you need light, it's very simply to get it. You just put the bulb in the center of the ceiling, you have the light, you know, enough quantity to see. And going beyond that, I think that besides the decentralization of the profession, besides the cooperation, somehow we need to reach to those who are going to make money out of it, because in today's world, if somebody is not making money out of it, it's not going to push enough. And they have they have the money, they have the means, they have the media to convince people, like they convince them to buy, you know, compact fluorescent bulbs, and telling them that they're going to save, I don't know how much money on the energy, but they never told them they're going to poison the water. And then when the LED came up, you know, they just, you know, leave it and then started with the other product. So it's a very complex issue. I think, first of all, we need to be able to make this as a recognized profession. Too many of my colleagues would say, I'm a lighting designer, but I'm trained in architecture or engineering or so on, so on. So we are a humble profession. We're not enough proud of our profession. We should admit it, you know. And it shouldn't be that way. And I think this is the way we're going to gain authority over the projects, because I know we know more than an architect, but then too many times, too often, you have to compromise because he doesn't like the way the fixture looks, and he doesn't care what light is going to provide. And, you know, this is many things that need to be resolved. And what's coming, technologically, it's going to be even better.
But it's so good to have Dean on a panel. You know that he's going to be the one telling the art the truth. And so, Andrea.
So that means I get to lie?
I said hard.
I'm just asking.
Just the adjective. I put an adjective.
All right, well, I'm just going to start with everybody deserves access to quality lighting. It's a simple place to start. We're the ambassadors for that. Nobody knows how to get a project there like we do. So if we start there, you know, yes, there's lots of periphery that pulls and pushes and you know, takes focus away from that. But at the end of the day, if we can keep the focus back there, and how do we do that? I don't know. You know, we keep designing with quality in mind instead of numbers. We get out there as ambassadors and talk to students and parents and humans, period, about why quality of light is so important. You know, give, however you can give, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's whatever, you know, but give back, because we've gotten so much from what I think is one of the coolest professions ever. So.
Thank you. You mentioned mentorship before, and I think that's also, like, as you just said, pretty much the foundation of it that could encourage at least the people that maybe are getting certain, not that, you know, which way to choose to go to.
And as I see it, like, this is exactly the spirit of collaboration that is one of the pillars of the LIRC. Because actually altogether IALD and LIRC are promoting, for example, with the Education Trust and so many other initiatives, what we call good circles, or what's in English? I'm having a blackout all of a sudden, but virtue circles, right? So the way we help others in our community and the way we are always available for each other. Like, for example, this evening, our good friend, LIRC member, Rick Leeds, is gonna help us with the question and answers, both from the public in person and online. But again, it's just a big thank you, everyone, because yes, we keep on talking to each other, but it's also true that we raise awareness of the importance of specific topic, because sometimes even among us, we don't discuss this enough. So Rick, do we have questions from the public?
Well, I'm going to find out. Do we have questions from the public? Do we have any hands? We must have a hand. No. I've got one question to kick it off, and it's for all 6 of you, because you moderators have to be involved as well. You know, the LIRC, the Lighting Industry Resource Council, is primarily made up of manufacturers and educators who also come to lighting from engineering backgrounds and business backgrounds and science backgrounds and architecture backgrounds, as well as product design. My question would be to all of you, starting, Martina, with you. How did you get here? How did you get into lighting design?
Actually, okay, to get very personal here, the reason why I started to lighting design is it's based in Milan. Well, not any longer, but and I know that a few people here actually knows the person I'm talking about, or got the chance to know him. I was doing my bachelor in my interior design here in Milan, and I was supposed to have just 3 months classes of something that was called lighting design, and I was like, okay, but just another one of my thing. And the professor I got the chance to know just illuminated me. I cannot say any other word. I cannot pick any other one. And by the end of that, I decided to take my chances and to find a master that would have got me to be an actual lighting designer. And I cannot stress enough how important it is. That's why I was thinking about I was stressing also about the concept of mentorship, because without that person whose name is Mario Bonomo, who's not with us any longer, I wouldn't be here. And I had thanked him many times in my life already, and I will continue even if it's not among us any longer. So this is my answer.
Great. Paul, you're up next.
Well, I'm a trained architect, and actually I grew up in an architect's office because my grandfather was an architect, so I kind of like I started very early. And I think one of the first projects I really wanted to see was Hartranft by Le Corbusier. So I went there and I've seen the windows, and it was like mesmerizing, and I felt like, hey, there's something more to it. And then architecture is great, and well, I was a bit fed up with the slow speed of architecture. So I thought like there needs to be something faster, like more active, and obviously light is the quickest thing we know somehow. So I thought, well,
It's fast.
it is pretty fast. So I thought like, well, somehow the lighting kind of like emerged out of that, or the idea of a lighting design emerged out of that. So that's my story, kind of like how I got here.
Great. Great. Surbhi, you're up next.
Hi. So great question, I would say. For me, being a trained architect, I was wanting to do masters in urban planning from the States, but however, I could not go for masters in urban planning. But this is where I started lighting design during my first job, whereby I went on designing houses for the who's who of the country in India, whereby I discovered that lighting design is a complex field. It's not so simple, and it requires specific sensitivity as well as knowledge about how light works, what does it do to the human perception, and what the technical challenges are that we face in the lighting industry, an industry that moves very slowly from quantity to quality. So that's where I want to mention the quality part of it. This is what made me realize that lighting and architecture are yin and yang. They work hand in hand. Light has that fluidity and flexibility that integrates within the architectural environment rather than fighting with it. So we cannot separate the two elements, and this is how I found my profession and direction.
Thank you. Andrea, you're up.
Well, I wanted to be a jockey, but I grew, and so that was out. I went to school for journalism, at least I started that way, but after a year of journalism, I hadn't taken a journalism class, and I was bored. And I woke up one morning, and the words architectural engineering were in my head, and I didn't know what it was, and I had never taken a physics class, and I transferred in that afternoon. And it is what it is. I struggled through, and I learned, and I took classes, and finally found myself working with Dr. Craig Bernecker, who wasn't doctor yet, but he was about to be, in his lighting lab. And I started to realize pretty quickly just how powerful lighting designers can be, because we affect people's moods. I mean, we can take a space and change it into whatever we, want with light. That's pretty awesome. So I was hooked and stuck with it.
And here you are.
For a few years.
And we're all the better for it. Thanks. Dean, you're next.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how I got into lighting, because you wouldn't believe it.
We got 3 minutes, but you take as long as you need.
So I'm going to make it very short, because it's a good a story as for the Scorsese movie, trust me. But
Excellent.
anyway, I liked the initial initiation in lighting that I got by pure chance and by fate, I guess. And then I studied interior design at FIT in New York City, and they had lighting classes at the time, as far as I can remember. That's late in 80s. And I continued since. And when I came back to Croatia in 1995, my father said to me, so what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do lighting. What? Don't expect me to give you food every day. That was his words. So, but he was wrong. I love what I do very, very much. So anyway.
Okay, young lady, you're last.
Yeah, but I think that everyone in the lighting industry heard this story at least 3 times. However, I'm going to tell it again, just in case. All right, so I grew up in a small fisherman village, and every summer we would have this very nice holiday with very small lights all around the city. They will decorate the city and the streets, and they are called luminarie in Italian, right? And these little blinking lights would reflect into the sea, and then I was walking with my mom, looking at the reflections in the sea, and I was so happy about the holidays, and my mom was with me. Mom, I want to become a designer of luminarie when I grow up. These fairy lights I want to design. And she was like, oh, that's not the job, darling. And that's not a thing. And then I grew up and I still wanted to do the luminarie and fairy lights kind of thing. And then she was like, why don't you become an architect instead? And I didn't, no, mother. Well, eventually I understood that there was such a thing as a profession. It took me a while because there was no internet at the time. So, well, yes, and that's the story, basically.
That's great. That is a great answer to it. All of the answers are great. And everyone comes from a different place. I'm sure every one of you has your own story, as do I. Any other questions? Randy.
In your countries, do you see circadian entrainment being specified by lighting designers?
Who wants to start? No. Dean.
Answer, quick answer. No. Like, some of us are actually studying, just because we are talking about education tonight, we are studying how light can support, well, for one certification, if we need to talk about certification, and also we are studying how light can somewhat induce or create alertness in people. But honestly, we do believe that still we have a little education to do towards our clients in order to make them understand first that wellness is the key, and then there are a few more steps that we still need to go to. So I would actually, in the spirit of collaboration kind of thing, say and hard the truth as well. For our friend in the LIRC, maybe when you do advertisement, you may want to know if we are up to that with our clients before advertising things. For once, that's my view. What about you?
And don't call it human-centric.
Don't do that.
I was having a discussion earlier today.
You know you're not on camera. Come on,
No,
camera.
no, because I'm going to stay over here on the side.
A
Conversation here today that our industry has learned to talk to themselves really well. But we haven't learned to express the things we know in simple ways that other people understand and experience it. And I think it's a lot of food for thought for what education means in the future. I learned how to make a foot candle in college in 1979 in Boulder, Colorado. And that has gotten me nowhere in my career, because you can't hold a foot candle in your hand, right? But we talk about these terms and we express things to ourselves all the time that are meaningless to the people we're trying to, as Andrea said, sell our concepts and our understanding to. So I think it's a big part of the revolution that's coming in education for the next generation, how are you going to express yourself to the next set of clients, whether it's an end user, whether it's an architect client, whether it's a hospital, you know, how are we going to express our industry to other people in a way they can understand and appreciate it?
Vocabulary. I would just like to remind you guys that we only have 1 minute as we have to say goodbye.
This is going to be a great minute.
So.
Look at us. You know, you have to be an architect, as Andrea said, you have to be an engineer, you have to be technical, you have to be an artist, you have to be a businessman, a salesman, you have to be a very complex person to do this. So how can anyone be bored with it? You know, it's great, isn't it?
Well, anyone else on the topic? Andrea is tired, everyone's tired.
I would just like to say that in my case, also to answer to Randy's question, I represent Portugal in here as well, and I would say we don't have Latin education, and the few studios that managed to go through these years of a bit of like doing this or making the impressions are still a bit far from circadian. So my answer to specific to your question is luckily a no. And to the disruptive language is like, yeah, we have to get to the point to have at least someone from the fields talking about Latin design in Portugal.
All right. Unfortunately, I think it's time to say a few goodbyes. Before that, I would like to thank Remigio Architects for hosting Light'in Agorà. That is our hub for event that's going to continue tomorrow with other 3 fabulous events, among which the Women in Lighting Gathering. And obviously, I would like to thank our supporters that are allowing us to be here today. One, hopefully future LIRC member, Helvar. One current LIRC member, Formal Lighting. And then we have the fabulous Valmont Industries, who we hope is going to become very soon LIRC member. They are all investigating this opportunity as we speak. And then we have Luxlight with Claudio, who is with us today, so please talk to Claudio later on. Of course, also Formal Lighting and Helvar are in person. Unfortunately, Valmont couldn't join us. And I would like to thank all who are following us from home. Either you are a LIRC member or you're planning to be one, please get in touch with us. We will be happy to answer all of your questions on how great is the spirit of collaboration that we do support every day. And the same to the lighting designers in the room and at home. If you're not a IALD lighting designer yet, feel free to talk to me at any time of this evening. So I would like to say huge thank you to our panelists. Surbhi, so sorry you cannot be with us. Dean.
Thank you so much.
Andrea, Paul, thank you so very much. And Martina, thank you for being my co-host tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I can be so picky. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to the IALD and the LIRC. And I hope to see you all either in Light Fair or in Berlin very soon. Thank you and good night, people that are following us from home. We will continue in person with a fabulous aperitivo that has been provided us by our wine supporter. And it's the fantastic Donna Fugata from Sicily. So thank you very much. Thank you.